Hello and a warm welcome to the Public Global. I'm Neelu Vyas. Nepal's central bank has issued a 100 rupee currency note featuring a revised map that includes the Kalapani, Lipulekh, and Limpiyadhura territories. And these are regions that India has maintained that it belongs to India. Now, the new note from the Nepal Rashtra Bank bears the signature of a previous governor, Mahaprasad Adhikari, and the date of issuance of the bank is goes back to the 2024. That's what Nepal is saying. Now, if you remember, in May 2020, the KP Sharma Oli led government had unveiled a new political map showing Lipulekh, Kalapani, and Limpiyadhura areas as Nepal's territory. And later it was endorsed by the parliament. Now, India reacted sharply to Nepal's move at that time, calling the revised map a unilateral act. And it had cautioned Kathmandu that such artificial enlargement of territorial claims will not be acceptable to it. That was then. But again, Nepal now has tried to provoke India by including those territories which belong to India. Now, what does this mean as far as India's foreign policy is concerned? What does this mean as far as India's relations with Nepal are concerned? Can India really address these issues? Because it might snowball into a larger border dispute with a small nation like Nepal. So we'll try and understand all of this. Joining me this evening is Dr. Aftab Kamal Pasha, international affairs expert and diplomat. Thank you, Dr. Pasha, for joining on the Public Global. My first question to you is that Nepal issuing this 100 rupee currency note, what does it really mean for India? Is Nepal trying to provoke India? What does it want by doing this?
Thank you, Neeluji. Uh, as far as India is concerned, this issue of three areas claimed by Iran is an old issue, at least 5 years old. You might recall the former Nepalese Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, while addressing the parliament, had raised this issue way back in May 2020, claiming these territories belonging to our border states, particularly Uttarakhand. And, negotiations were going on. Uh, I think we were under the impression that some progress has been made and that this issue has been resolved. But after the overthrow of his government by the GZ protesters and the taking over of power through the military by former Chief Justice, Lady Prime Minister. This issue has again cropped up. Although I must say that this rupee bears the signature, 100 rupee note bears the signature of the former National Rashtriya Bank, that is Mahaprasad Adhikari, and it is mentioned 2024, giving the impression that it is not a measure taken by the present government, but the former government, and it is already in circulation. But there is no denying of the fact that this new government could have uh, softened its approach or even withdrawn the notes and, in deference to India's comments and almost criticism that these belong to India, sovereign territory, and Nepal is illegally claiming it. In fact, the words used by India in the official reaction is artificial enlargement. That India, cannot tolerate the expansionist, territorial expansionist ambitions of a neighbor. But this, although appears to be a small, mundane issue, but it has larger implications, like the recent detention of an Indian citizen in Shanghai who hails from Arunachal Pradesh, and she was detained for over 18 hours. And this exploded in a big controversy over China's claim over Arunachal Pradesh, reiterated by Foreign Ministry of the Chinese on this issue, and India's forthright condemnation and claim that it is an integral part of India. You see, all these border issues, whether it is China encroaching in the POK or expanding its CPEC or BRI through POK. And this Kalapani and Lipulekh and Limpiyadhura territories, or Bangladesh's ruler Muhammad Yunus going to China and suggesting that China and Bangladesh work together to have corridor through northeast and all of these things appear to be pinpricks, and these smaller neighbors or even China is getting emboldened because of the obvious weakness in India's foreign policy during this NDA government, especially the leadership under Prime Minister Modi, who is facing tremendous pressure from the United States on a variety of issues, whether it is tariffs or BRICS or Russian oil or the sanctions imposed on Indian companies or relations with China, etc., etc. And India's inability to respond forcefully, forthright, the claims by Donald Trump on the Operation Sindoor ceasefire and many other issues. So this ad hoc and zigzag and temporary measures that if there is pressure from America, Modi rushes to meet the Chinese Prime Minister or invites Putin to show that we are following the strategic
Asha,
autonomy policy.
I'll just interrupt you here because now this controversy has come at a time when Putin is planning to come to India, and so do you think that this could have been a deliberate attempt by Nepal to provoke India to say something? And how do you think India will react to a controversy like this?
See, there is no doubt that India's autonomous engagement, whether it is China or Russia or BRICS or any other issue, like for example, when Prime Minister Modi was in Brazil for the BRICS summit, Donald Trump is on record having said that BRICS is an anti-American alliance. They're trying to undermine American growth and tariffs and dollar, etc., etc. Then, when Prime Minister was in China during the SCO summit to meet Xi, Chinese leader, then also they come adversely commented, and they are on record saying that the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant against Putin, and is a persona non grata, that he should not be allowed and he should be arrested. But India is ignoring and challenging this ICC decision because it itself is a flawed one, double standards, because the SEC has also issued a arrest warrant against Netanyahu, whom the Americans are protecting. So, in that way, any assertiveness, any bold initiative taken by India is disliked and commented adversely by the United States. So, the Chinese also take cue about the foreign pressure and how we are meekly submitting to foreign pressure. They also up the ante and put pressure on Arunachal Pradesh or incursion in border areas and use Bangladesh or China or periodically Sri Lanka. But there's no doubt that Putin's visit, you can interpret that the American influence, which is also growing in Nepal, they would have used this to put pressure on India, because we are inviting a so-called ICC issued warrant criminal to India as head of state, and we are going to improve our bilateral relations. And Russia is offering, huge discount, almost to the point of selling, offering India its oil at $7. Can you imagine? We are paying around $60 a barrel of oil from the rest of the world, including America. Now, if Russia offers oil for $7, it's a huge gain. We will be able to save billions of dollars from foreign exchange. So why should we not continue buying despite American pressure? Whereas America insists on allowing India to import everything it wants. So America is trying to undermine India's economic development. So all of these small states also take their cue from what America is getting away with its pressure tactics and the weakness shown by this NDA government, especially the Prime Minister. And no minister is strong enough to comment on bullying tactics of the United States. And they should say so in no uncertain terms that, like America pursues its independent foreign policy, we also have the right to follow our relations policy with China, with Russia, with BRICS, and will withstand these pressures. And this meek policy of strategic partnership with the United States is being misused, and this government still hopes that they will be able to restore relations. But the United States also continues to use the neighbors against us.
But India's relationship with America has petered down. It doesn't have a good relationship with China either. They don't believe or they don't trust China too much. And now, with these neighboring countries like smaller nations like Nepal, now if they are trying to show India some kind of a mirror, so what does it really go to show? That the Indian government is weak, and the biggest question is that what happens to India Nepal relations from here on?
They will definitely deteriorate because China has its own influence, and it will periodically use the Chinese Nepali groups to put pressure on India, because China has realized that, like America, it also can put pressure directly on Arunachal Pradesh or in Ladakh or in other areas, and also use its clout in Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. So we see we are caught in this tug of war between United States and China. We are getting sandwiched, and we are unable to decide what is our priority. Whether we want to benefit fully from bilateral relations with China through the Belt and Road Initiative or technological cooperation and military cooperation, so on and so forth. But you have the Chinese Pakistani umbilical cord, all weather friendship, in which America also is now interested in using Pakistan against Afghanistan or Iran or Russia or China. So, in that way, we have to delineate our foreign policy. Where are our interests? And speak up clearly and boldly that, look, this is our core interest, and no matter what America tries to do or China tries to do, we will follow an independent policy. So the weakness shown periodically is the biggest weakness or shortcoming of this government, and this paralysis will continue to give wrong signals to not only Nepal and other neighbors, but also to big powers like America or even Russia. Russia also feels that, under American pressure, we have stopped buying oil, or we are buying weapons from Israel and America, or buying oil and gas from America. So in that way, placating one country if there is pressure from the other, this kind of ad hoc approach, zigzag approach, is not befitting for a country like India, and this shows the lack of understanding and the strategic depth and the vision which Modi should show as far as India's rising stature through its economic development is concerned. A small country like Nepal, we should be able to convince them. You
Yeah.
share your economic cake with them.
No,
Be a
but
little more magnanimous.
had it been the UPA government of the yesteryears, I'm sure Prime Minister Manmohan Singh would have called up the Nepal government, and this matter could have been sorted very easily, because nobody thought ever, given the kind of cultural ties and the diplomatic relations we had with Nepal, nobody thought that Nepal would someday try to show India this kind of a mirror by provoking through a 100 rupee note.
Yes, Dr. Manmohan Singh is basically an economist, was an economist. May God bless his soul. And he was the architect of the economic liberalization in 91 during Narasimha Rao. And that's how we are making progress, for which this government is taking credit unnecessarily. So he would have just called the new government, Lady Prime Minister, and he would have offered, say, for example, 20,000 or 50,000 scholarship for Nepal students, or trade concessions, or any number of concessions which we can came. We have become tight-fisted. We have become miserly in our attitude by not being generous to our neighbors. We have to share the economic cake. They know that India is progressing rapidly and its GDP is growing to third or fourth in the largest. Can't we share a small pie with our neighbors who are poor, who are struggling after the earthquake? The infrastructure has been battered in many parts, which has still not been repaired. And the people have highest unemployment there, which is visible during the Gen Z demonstrations. And, not much progress has been made because the resources are extremely limited and the geographical challenges are so huge. Only India can do. Of course, China is taking advantage. It will do maximum to include Nepal on its side. But we have more cultural and social relations with Nepal, which are thousands of years old, and we have to take advantage. There is enormous goodwill, but we are unable to cash on that by our tight-fisted policy. We have to be generous with Nepal and other neighbors if we want to win back and have good neighborly relations, which will not be used by other great powers like America or China or other countries.
Right. So we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Dr. Pasha, for joining on the Public Global. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.